My husband said he was meeting up with old friends. I found out his old friend was a woman he hadn't seen in years and had never told me about. When I confronted him, he said, "It's just friendship." He didn't expect that friendship to cost him everything. We've been married 12 years. We live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm 38 and he just turned 41. We never had kids. I wanted to, but life kept getting in the way. Miscarriages, long hours at work, stress. Eventually, we stopped talking about it. We settled into a quiet routine. I work long shifts at a small clinic, and he works in insurance. Nothing fancy. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. At least, that's what I thought. Ray, my husband, was always good with people. Women especially. He wasn't a flirt in an obvious way. More like he listened. Smiled just right. He had this boy-next-door look that made people trust him. And for a long time, I did too. I started noticing changes 6 months ago. It started small. He'd smile at his phone, then put it down quickly when I walked into the room. He started caring more about how he looked when he left the house. He'd come home smelling like cologne I didn't recognize. He claimed he was just trying a new scent. His excuses were always calm, relaxed. He never got defensive. Then one Saturday morning, I heard him on the phone. I was in the laundry room, folding clothes. He stepped outside to take a call. Our window was open. He didn't know I could hear him. He was laughing. Soft, warm. Not his usual laugh. Then I heard the name. Mara. I froze. I've known this man for over a decade. I've heard every story. Every wild tale from college. I've heard about exes, friends, coworkers. I've heard every name that meant something to him. But I've never heard Mara. He said something like, "God, I haven't laughed like this in forever," and then something about how weird it is running into you again. It didn't sound like a business call. It sounded like two people picking up something they left unfinished. When he came back in, I acted like I hadn't heard anything. I needed time to think. Later that day, I asked him what his plans were for the next weekend. He casually said, "Meeting up with some old friends in Dayton. Haven't seen them in a while. Just catching up." I asked who. He said, "Just people from college. Nothing big." He didn't say her name. I didn't press. I just nodded and smiled. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. I trusted him for years. I never checked his phone. I never asked too many questions. But something deep in me, something primal, said look. He fell asleep with his phone on the nightstand. I stared at it for hours before finally picking it up. He used the same passcode he always had. I opened it and went straight to his texts. There she was. Mara W. I opened their thread and felt my stomach twist. The messages were recent. Dozens and dozens of them. Day and night. It started with, "Wow, I didn't think you'd respond," and then it turned into, "Remember when we used to sneak out during finals? You always knew how to calm me down. It's so good to talk to someone who actually gets me." Her messages were full of winks, heart emojis, late-night selfies. Nothing nude, but suggestive. Low-cut shirts. Lips slightly parted. That fake oops, didn't mean to send this vibe. His replies? "You look amazing. I still remember the way you smelled. God, I wish we'd had more time back then." And then one message that changed everything. If things were different. That one broke me. They hadn't slept together yet. But the emotional part was there. The stuff you build with someone over time? He handed it to her like it meant nothing. I took screenshots of every message. Sent them to myself. Then I printed out the worst ones at work the next day and hid them. When Friday rolled around, he packed a bag. Said he'd be staying overnight in Dayton. Too far to drive back late, he said. I kissed him goodbye and told him to have fun. I waited 30 minutes after he left. Then I grabbed my keys and drove. I didn't go to Dayton. Not right away. I went to her place. She texted him her address a week ago, asking, "Just in case you get lost." It was in her messages. I saved it. I parked down the street from her apartment complex and waited. An hour later, I saw his car pull in. He stepped out, straightened his shirt, fixed his hair in the mirror, then grabbed a small overnight bag from the back seat. She came to the door wearing a dress I'd never dare wear. Short, tight, low cut. They hugged. Not a friendly hug. It lingered. He leaned his face near her neck. Then she brought him inside. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I took pictures. Him walking in, her smiling, his car in the driveway. I left. Quiet. When he came home the next day, I was already gone. I left him a folder on the kitchen table. Inside, the screenshots. The photos. A printed copy of their text where he said, if things were different, I didn't answer his calls. I didn't respond to his texts. I stayed at my sister's place and let the silence do the talking. 3 days later, I picked up one call. He sounded panicked, tired, like someone who knew the walls were caving in. He said, it's not what it looks like. I said, then what is it? He didn't answer. I said, I'll be filing for divorce. Have your lawyer contact me. Click. But here's the part he didn't see coming. He thought he could play house with me and play fantasy with her. He didn't know he was standing on sand. I owned the house. Inherited it from my aunt 6 years ago. The deed was in my name only. He knew that, but forgot how real that was. The joint savings? I'd already moved my share out quietly. Every week for a month, a little at a time. Legally. Nothing suspicious. Just smart. The car he drove? Leased under my name. I canceled it. The health insurance he used? Came through my job. I dropped him. The credit cards we shared? Froze the joint account and left him with his own bills. But that wasn't all. I made sure his family knew. His friends. Our neighbors. I didn't yell. I didn't tell lies. I just sent the screenshots. The timestamps. Her photo. The hug. The messages. I still remember the way you smelled. They all saw it. And they all stopped calling him. Even his own mother said, you messed up. Don't come here until you fix it. He tried to stay with Mara. She ghosted him after 2 weeks. Apparently, she wanted the fun, not the mess. Now he's living with a coworker, driving a rental, working extra hours to afford half the life he used to have. And me? I'm calm. Still. Quiet. But I'm not done. A few weeks after I filed for divorce, Ray started showing up at my job. The first time, he waited in the parking lot. I saw his car when I stepped out for lunch. I turned around and went back inside. Told my supervisor I wasn't feeling well. She let me take the rest of the day off. I left through the back door. The second time, he came inside. He stood in the waiting room, looking lost and worn down. His eyes were sunken. He hadn't shaved. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Can we just talk? He said, quiet. I didn't say a word. Just turned around and walked back to the staff lounge. He left after a nurse threatened to call security. The third time, he waited for me at my car. This time, I didn't walk away. You're making this worse, I said, unlocking the door. He stepped between me and the driver's side. You didn't have to destroy me like this, he said. His voice cracked. I stared at him. You destroyed yourself. She meant nothing, he said. I laughed. It came out sharp and mean. You told her you remembered how she smelled. That doesn't sound like nothing. He looked at the ground. I messed up. I felt like we lost each other. And instead of talking to me, you ran to someone you haven't seen in 15 years. He didn't answer. I got in the car and shut the door. He moved out of the way. I drove off. But that wasn't the end of it. About a week later, I got a text from an unknown number. You really think you're perfect? Ask your sister about June 2017. Winky face. I stared at it for a long time. Then I drove straight to my sister's house. She was folding laundry in the living room when I walked in. I held out my phone. Do you know anything about this? She looked at the screen, and her face went pale. She sat down hard. Is it true? I asked. Did something happen? She started to cry. I didn't mean for it to. It was just once. One night. I felt like someone had punched me in the throat. She told me the truth. One night in 2017. She and Ray had gotten drunk at a party while I was out of town for a work conference. They slept together. She swore it never happened again. Swore he felt guilty and begged her to never tell me. She kept it hidden all these years. Why now? I asked. Why are you telling me now? Because I didn't think he'd throw me under the bus just to save himself. He sent that message. He thought that would scare me. That it would shift the blame. That maybe I'd turn on her and forget what he did. Instead, it made everything worse for him. I called him that night. You think you're clever, don't you? He was quiet. You think dropping that little secret would make me question everything, maybe stop the divorce? He said nothing. It just proves you're even lower than I thought. You've been lying to me since year 5. He finally spoke. You said you wanted the truth. No. I wanted respect. You don't get to rewrite the past just because you're miserable now. Click. The next day, I filed to add emotional distress to my divorce claim. I also filed for spousal misconduct, which let me petition for a higher share of the remaining assets. He'd been hiding a separate checking account, which I found during the discovery process. He was putting away money to move in with Mara. The judge wasn't impressed. Now, instead of a fair 50-50 split, I was awarded 70%. And since the infidelity involved a family member, the judge said he showed a pattern of deceptive behavior and gave me full ownership of everything I hadn't already taken. Ray didn't just lose me, his home, and his money. He lost his dignity. But the part that really sealed it? He got fired. One of the HR women at his job was in our mutual friend group. She saw the texts I'd shared. Turns out, he'd been flirting with women at work too. They opened an internal investigation. Found emails, messages, a pattern. He was let go quietly, violation of workplace policy. Now he's unemployed, couch surfing, and trying to sell stuff online to make ends meet. And me? I'm still quiet, still calm, but I'm not finished. I thought things would slow down after the court ruled in my favor. I thought he'd finally crawl into whatever hole he'd dug and disappear from my life. But Ray doesn't let go. 2 weeks after the ruling, I got a call from my bank. Someone tried to access my online account using security question prompts. They failed all 3, but tried multiple times. I changed everything, passwords, emails, locked down my credit. I didn't want to think it was him, but I knew the timing was no accident. A few days later, my neighbor called. She said someone was outside my house at 2 a.m., standing by the fence, just watching. Couldn't see the face, she said. But they stood there for a long time, like they were waiting. I installed cameras the next day. I didn't call the cops yet. I wanted proof first. Sure enough, 3 nights later, there he was. Ray. Hoodie. Face blurry, but unmistakable from the way he walked. Same hunched shoulders, same limp in his left foot from a bike accident years ago. He stood by my fence, just stared at the house, then left. I filed a police report for trespassing. I didn't want him arrested yet. I just wanted it on record. But I was done playing defense. I started digging through old files, emails, bank records, anything I could find that didn't make sense over the last few years. And I found something. A Venmo trail. Small payments, weird descriptions. Thanks for the help. Fire wine glass, you were amazing. Again. There were about 8 of them. All paid to the same woman. Not Mara. Another name. Tessa B. I clicked into her profile. It was public. She worked at a massage spa in Dayton. I called the spa. Asked for Tessa. Said I was a potential client. She answered, cheerful. I asked, did you used to have a client named Ray? Silence. Then, I don't give out client info. I said, that's fine. Just know he's under investigation and your name's on financial documents now. You might want to be careful. Click. 5 minutes later, I got a message on Facebook. I didn't know he was married. I swear. He said he was divorced. He came in twice a month for a year. She sent a photo of a receipt he signed with his full name. Date matched one of the Venmo payments. I had more than enough now. He hadn't just emotionally cheated with Mara. He'd been paying for massages. Probably more than massages. For a year. I added it to the court documents. My lawyer reopened part of the settlement to argue misrepresented finances. The judge agreed to review it. If proven, Ray could owe me more. And then another twist hit me. My sister called. She was crying again. Ray texted me. He said he's going to tell Mom and Dad what happened if I don't loan him money. That's when it hit me. Ray wasn't trying to get me back. He was trying to blow everything up. He was drowning and wanted to pull down whoever was close. I told her, let him. Tell them yourself first. You'll feel better than letting him control the story. She did. Our parents were shocked, hurt, but grateful she came clean. They cut contact with Ray completely. His last lifeline gone. And still, he didn't stop. I started getting fake Yelp reviews at my clinic. 1 star. Nasty comments about me by name. Rude, unstable, unprofessional. We traced the accounts. Guess who they linked back to? Ray's IP address. That's when I filed for a protective order. He was warned once already. Now he'd violated boundaries. Harassment. Defamation. Cyberstalking. Police took it seriously. They showed up at his friend's house, where he'd been staying. Warned him in person. His friend kicked him out that night. I heard from someone later that he's now staying in a motel near the highway. Jobless. Broke. No friends left. No family. And the best part? Tessa? The massage girl? She filed a complaint with her employer. They banned him permanently. She's also considering legal action for harassment after she found more old messages from him. So now, Ray's name is on multiple records. Legal records. The man who once sat across from me, smiling over coffee every morning, is now unraveling piece by piece. And I'm just getting started. Ray was unraveling fast. After the police visit, things went quiet for a couple of weeks. No calls. No texts. No weird sightings. I thought maybe he finally got it through his head. But then I got a letter. A real one. Mailed. No return address. Inside was a photo of me and a man I used to work with, Steve. He was a nurse at the clinic a few years ago. We got close during a rough patch in my marriage. We went out for drinks a few times. Nothing happened. Not really. But there were hugs. A moment or two where I almost let the line blur. Ray had saved the photo. It was from a staff holiday party in 2018. Steve's arm was around me, and I was laughing. It looked intimate. There was a note. You're no angel either. I stared at it for a long time. He was right. I never cheated. But I came close. And I never told Ray about it. Just buried it. Pretended like it didn't matter because nothing happened. But something did. Emotionally, I started pulling away from him back then. I didn't talk to him. I didn't admit I was unhappy. I shut down, and maybe that's where it started to fall apart. It doesn't excuse what he did. But I wasn't perfect either. Still, I never lied the way he did. I never strung people along. Never paid strangers to touch me. Never made secret plans with an old flame. I made mistakes. But he made war. So I decided to finish it. I took everything I had, every document, every screenshot, the police reports, even that last letter, and I made a blog. Just facts. Dates. Screenshots. Legal warnings. His messages. Her replies. His fake Yelp reviews. I even included the Venmo trail and a redacted version of Tessa's message with her permission. I left out the photo of me and Steve. Some things are mine to carry. I posted it anonymously but made sure the right people saw it. former coworkers, mutual friends, local Facebook groups. It spread fast. It wasn't about humiliating him. It was about making sure no other woman got pulled into the same trap. And it worked. I started getting messages from other women. He messaged me last year on Instagram. Said he was single. He tried to flirt with me at a wedding and said his wife left him for no reason. I dodged a bullet. Thank you. Ray tried to report the blog, but it was all documented. All true. Legally backed. The site stayed up. Then one final blow landed. His former job, after firing him quietly, added him to an internal blacklist. A new policy about past misconduct. His name was flagged in a national insurance employment network. He wouldn't be getting another job in that field. Not anytime soon. Last I heard, he was delivering groceries. Living in a rundown studio near the outskirts of Dayton. No friends. No future. And me? I sold the house. Moved to Cincinnati. Got a new job at a bigger clinic. I kept it quiet. No Facebook updates. No tags. No online photos. I stay under the radar now. I date a little. Carefully. Slowly. Sometimes I think about Steve and how different things might have been if I'd just spoken up sooner, told Ray I was unhappy. Maybe none of this would have happened. But that's the thing about revenge. It doesn't heal what's broken. It just makes sure the person who broke you doesn't walk away clean. Ray walked into that woman's house thinking he still had options. Now he has nothing. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get violent. I didn't destroy his life out of anger. I did it out of truth. And I made sure he felt every second of it. He said it was just friendship. He didn't know that lie would cost him everything, and he'll remember it every day for the rest of his life.